Let's jump to this next story from Mediaites. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are now officially part of the deep state. Yes, they made it. Congratulations, boys. You're in the club. I'm so excited for this.
We made it.
So this is Kash and Dan gave an interview, and they said they don't actually have the video here. They said in the video that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, and I actually want to get the clip because I don't want to just read it. I want to actually.
That's insane to me. That really is insane to me. Like, what did they see? What did Kash and Dan see?
Here we go.
That they literally think Epstein killed himself.
Let's play the clip if it plays.
That's insane to me.
What is? I pulled the clip.
You said
here we go.
Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
So here's a question for you guys: Is Kash? Or actually, let's throw this in the mix. Glenn Beck calls out Trump's FBI brass rejecting Epstein conspiracy. What changed Patel and Bongino's minds? Here's what I want to say first and foremost. I still find it hard to believe. But that being said, who would you trust? Like, if Kash and Dan were literally the people like banging on the table, begging, being like, this is exactly who we need to get in.
Right.
They turn around and go, guys, we looked at the file. He killed himself. And they're like, nope, I don't believe you. And it's like, well, hold on.
Well, I don't know if I don't believe them. I just think it's insane that they're saying that. That's crazy.
I'm not saying you do, but like there's a lot of people who are like, nope, they're liars. They're corrupted. They're compromised. And I'm like,
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far.
Or they're telling the truth. You sent in the guys you wanted to. I do not believe Dan Bongino gave up an 8-figure podcast empire to discredit and disgrace himself.
No.
However, there's two things to consider. In Dan Bongino's formal statement, he said, this is the evidence we have. And so I said this before. They are giving you an official statement as the FBI, not as themselves. Meaning, here's the file. Here's what it says. It says Epstein killed himself. Dan said, if new evidence comes out, we will absolutely review it. But this is what we have right now.
But he said, I've seen the file, and he's killed himself. I mean, it sounds like he's saying that's what he believes. So again, unless we see the file, I mean, they say they're going to release it, right?
Yeah, we should all see the file.
They say they're going to release it.
Let's entertain a possibility. Let me ask you a question, David. You one day go to the White House, and then you're invited into a meeting where they tell you outright, high-level Trump administration officials are engaged in extremely illegal behavior. They're doing really, really bad stuff. But if you tell anybody, it'll destroy the economy. It'll wipe out everyone's 401ks. It's going to destroy the country. Would you come out and tell everybody the truth?
I mean, that's a hard hypothetical, right? And it's a hypothetical with President Trump. It'd be more logical if I was a leftist or a Democrat and Joe Biden in there. I'm sure they did all that kind of stuff all the time. But it's still a hard hypothetical, and and I don't know if it correlates quite to this because
sure it does.
It's Epstein who's been dead now for how many years, right?
Yep.
And so it's kind of old news, although people still want to know the truth.
All right, let's try this.
It's not going to shift. It's not going to shift.
Sure
economy.
Could. Let's say that the reason they're not releasing the files is because the people who are being implicated are high-level executives at some of the Fortune 500 companies. And if the information gets out as to their involvement with children, the stocks of those companies will crumble overnight, wiping out 401ks.
Okay, so it's not Trump we're talking about now. Now it's high-level executives. So, again, that makes it more plausible.
Well, no, I'm saying the point is
if they were given the truth, but the truth would actually be catastrophic for the United States of America.
Would they keep lying?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at that point, if it was me, I don't think I could just go make a statement. I would just be like, I'm just going to stay off of that and we'll go focus on something else.
And that's exactly what they might be doing. They get in there.
But they're making a statement, though. They're saying, we've seen the evidence. We've seen the file. He killed himself. They're making a statement. So they've chose to make the statement.
They're not. The question is, have they launched an investigation into the Epstein stuff? Are they pursuing it, or are they largely ignoring it and doing other things?
Sounds like
so. They were asked about this. Kash was asked in Congress, and now they're being asked, and so they're not going to dodge. But it sounds to me there's a strong possibility they both get in, they get the briefing, and they go, the reason why we're not releasing the Epstein documents, and they look, and it's like CEO, politician, Congress, CEO. Yeah, you're going to wipe out about $17 trillion in market cap when these names drop. And then we're going to have no 401ks, the elderly. It's going to be catastrophic for the U.S. economy. China will then take advantage and win. And so they're like, let's not go anywhere near that.
Right?
I'm not saying they should have.
I think it's worth pulling that trigger.
I'd do it.
I think it's worth it. This whole system's
so you'd
been
be
weaponized.
Rorschach.
You'd have to be. If I want,
Which I think they would. I think they would be too.
unless
That's
they
the
were
whole
shown,
point.
like, what's the file?
Burn it down. Turn the FBI into a museum.
What's in the file, though? You know, like, I'd like to see what's in the file. We should all see what's in the, like, what were they
Are
showing?
they saying that?
Like, they're not saying it yet, but
They're not saying we're gonna
it's
see
not
it?
like there's video in the file. The
Right.
footage went down.
And literally,
people were asleep.
It just says Epstein was found dead. He killed himself.
Okay, I always thought it was a body double. I think he's still alive.
Right? The
I don't
nose,
think
the
anyone
ears,
took-
everything.
Took him, and they
So
Phil's laughing.
Where's the tinfoil?
But Epstein's coming back, and McAfee.
Have y'all seen? You've all seen or read Watchmen?
Yeah, of course.
Are you familiar? Graphic novel. You are? Okay. So at the end of the film, for those that aren't familiar, the gist of the story, it's a 40-year-old story, by the way, so this is not a spoiler alert. Basically what happens is one of the heroes turns out to be a villain, and he orchestrated a massive false flag where he killed tens of millions of people, staging a fake alien invasion to force the U.S. and Russia to drop the Cold War and unite against a common enemy. Rorschach is one of the heroes, and he says, nope, don't care. People must be told the truth. And they say, if you do this, you'll condemn the world to nuclear annihilation. He says, I don't care. I'm going to tell the truth. And so then Dr. Manhattan, got superpowers, blows him up.
Yep.
Would you be Rorschach or Dr. Manhattan? Condemn the world to nuclear annihilation, but for the truth, or lie to people?
I think you're dead either way. I think
Yeah,
you're a
it's a
slave
rough
either
one.
way. I think the system is totally bunk. And if you want to have a better future for your children, it's already bad. Everyone's suffering right now. And this whole government's been weaponized against us for at least 100 years, literally. So I don't care if you're going to push that button and expose everything.
I'd probably push it.
I'd push it.
If I got in there and I saw
Push
the
the button.
documents, you know what? If it were me,
Expose it all.
if the documents outright said Epstein killed himself and I was head of the FBI, I'd come out and be like, the documents they have claim that he killed himself, but I don't believe it for 2 seconds.
Right. What evidence? If there's no video,
Yeah.
because the video went down, then what actual evidence do they have?
Like they're looking at pictures of a body in the file.
So, I mean, I get what you guys are saying.
I
But
thought, wait, real quick. I thought the examiner actually said at some point that
His hyoid bone.
exactly
Yeah.
was more consistent with not self.
Pretty sure that's
strangulation or something.
that's also
Yeah.
a celebrity guy who's done every hyoid bone in pop culture for the last
okay.
5 decades and worked on JFK's brain. Pretty sure it's the same guy.
look, I mean,
So no credibility there.
I don't believe anybody.
Okay.
there's
Who-
the idea that there is no one that would tell you, oh, Epstein did kill himself, and people would accept it. Like, I'm gonna blow up the chat right now. They're gonna hate my guts. But like, the fact that these guys are in there saying, no, this is actually the way that it is. If you can't accept it from these two, then it doesn't matter who says it doesn't matter what you see, doesn't matter what evidence you see, you will always say it if you don't confirm.
I don't agree with that.
That's 100%.
I want to see what they saw.
Exactly what's
I
happening.
want to see
No,
what they saw.
listen,
That's all I'm saying.
if
they're saying it
We
based
want the-
on
we want
what
the
they
documents
saw.
released.
If you
want the
want the
file released.
Exactly. That's all I'm
If you
saying.
want the evidence released, then I'm fine.
Release
with that.
it-
But the
release
point,
it
the point,
so we
listen,
can
the point that
make
I'm
our own
making-
decision.
The point that I'm making is there are a bunch of people out there that are like, no, Epstein
got you.
definitely killed himself. And if they don't believe, if before Trump was elected, these guys were like, yeah, these are the guys, they're going to get in there and they're going to let us know, they're going to tell us that Epstein didn't kill himself and that blah, blah, blah. And now that they're saying, oh, Epstein actually did kill himself, and they're like, nope, we don't believe it. It's the same mentality that has plagued the internet since, I mean, before COVID, but became
People have
really
made up their
wild-
minds.
JFK.
Wildfire.
scenario?
Hold on. Wildfire. It's spread like a wildfire since COVID, and because of COVID, because the government has been so, the government and the media have been so unreliable and so dishonest with the American people. It's
complicit.
completely understandable that people don't trust anything that the establishment says, that anything that comes from the officials that doesn't confirm their priors, they don't believe it. And it makes perfect sense.